Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Google's latest quantum computing breakthrough, their new Willow chip. We're going to try and figure out exactly what it means for the future of, well, everything. Our source for this deep dive is a blog post by the one and only Hartmut Neven, who is, of course, the head of Google's quantum AI team.
Right.
So get ready. We're going to be exploring what makes Willow so special, what it can already do, and why it might just be a turning point for computing. And maybe even AI.
It's interesting how Google is kind of presenting Willow here. It's not just a faster chip. They're saying there's like a fundamental shift in what quantum computers can do. They're highlighting overcoming the hurdles of error correction.
Yeah.
And proving that quantum supremacy.
Okay, cool. So let's break all that down. Before we get into the really mind-blowing stuff,
Yeah.
What exactly is Willow?
So Willow is this new quantum computing chip. The focus, though, isn't just adding more qubits. It's about quality, too, and making sure they work together reliably. And, of course, to have more computational power.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about how sensitive these quantum computers are. They're prone to errors. It's almost like trying to bake a souffle while you're juggling chainsaws in the other hand.
Yeah, I like that analogy. It's pretty accurate, I think. The problem of quantum error correction, right?
Yeah.
It's been like a major roadblock in the field. But Willow makes this giant leap. Google says that it actually gets less error prone as you add more qubits.
Hold on, less error prone. That kind of seems counterintuitive.
So it is.
Yeah.
It's a landmark achievement, though. What they've managed to achieve is what's called below the threshold performance, meaning as the chip gets larger, the error rate actually goes down instead of up.
Wow.
And they tested this with different qubit configurations. And each time they did, the error rate got cut in half. Now, this is a big deal, right? Because it means that we can actually start thinking about building these larger, more powerful quantum computers, and we're not being held back by all these errors anymore.
So it really sounds like they've achieved something that scientists have been working towards for decades now.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. This whole concept of quantum error correction, it was first proposed back in 1995 by Peter Shor. He was like one of the pioneers in this field. So to see it actually implemented in a system like Willow, it really does show how far we've come.
Okay, so fewer errors, more qubits. Okay. How does that translate to real-world computing power? How do you even measure that?
Well, that's where this next bit comes in. So they put Willow through this benchmark test called random circuit sampling, or RCS.
I always hear that, random circuit sampling. It always just sounds like some kind of abstract scientific challenge. Can you explain it? Why is it so important?
Think of it this way, right?
Yeah.
You need some kind of standardized test to prove that a quantum computer can really, truly outperform a classical computer. So RCS is basically that test. It's made to really highlight the unique capabilities of these quantum systems. So Willow completed this task in under 5 minutes. Now get this, a top-of-the-line supercomputer would take an estimated 10,000 trillion years to do the same thing.
10,000 trillion. That is like a number so large, it's basically meaningless to us humans. It's hard to even imagine that.
Right. But it really puts into perspective the difference in processing power, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It is mind-boggling, though. And of course, these classical computers are always improving. But the gap between them and these quantum computers is just getting wider at this incredible rate. Quantum computing is advancing exponentially, right? So these traditional computers are just getting left behind in the dust.
So Willow's conquering errors, shattering these benchmarks. What's the secret sauce here? What's their secret to success?
So Google really emphasizes the meticulous engineering behind Willow. They built it in this state-of-the-art facility in Santa Barbara. And they really focus on quality over quantity.
Right. It's not just about cramming in as many qubits as you possibly can. You need high quality, reliable qubits to get those kinds of results.
Exactly. And that's what they've achieved with Willow. So not only is it a top performer, right, on those kind of big picture benchmarks, but they've made some really significant improvements in the details.
Okay, so I always find those technical details fascinating. What are we talking about here?
For example, they've significantly improved what are called T1 times. Now, this basically measures how long the qubits can hold on to their quantum state, meaning their ability to maintain the information that's needed for those really complex calculations. So with Willow, those T1 times are 5 times longer than the previous generations, meaning the qubits can concentrate for much longer periods.
It's almost like they've created a quantum computer with a longer attention span?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. They've built this more stable and reliable system.
Yeah.
right? And that allows for these, really remarkable results.
Okay, so they've built a more stable, more reliable system that's allowing them to get these remarkable results. But here's the big question. What does this mean for the average person? What can we actually do with a quantum computer like Willow?
That's the next frontier, right?
Yeah.
So far, much of the focus in quantum computing has been on, proving its potential, things like that RCS benchmark or running specific scientific simulations. Those have been kind of at the forefront.
Yeah, it's been a lot of showing off what's possible, but not necessarily showing off these really practical applications that would impact our daily lives.
So now the goal is to take those capabilities and apply them to these real-world problems that are just way beyond the reach of even our most powerful, classical computers.
Yeah.
We need to find solutions that will tangibly, improve our lives.
So it's not just about breaking records anymore, right? It's about harnessing that power for real world challenges. And one area where quantum computing could really have a revolutionary impact, I think, is artificial intelligence.
Precisely. So Hartmut Nevin, the author of the blog post that we're discussing, makes this really compelling argument that quantum computing and AI will be the most transformative technologies of our time. He believes that they'll be even more powerful together.
Quantum AI, right. It sounds a little like science fiction, but how could this partnership actually work in practice?
Well, imagine, right, that you're training an AI to recognize different types of cancer cells. Now, currently, AI relies on, huge amounts of data from images and biopsies. But what if we could use quantum computers to simulate the behavior of those cells at a molecular level, taking into account all of those complex quantum interactions that are happening within them?
That's a huge leap forward. It's like going from looking at a blurry photograph to examining a high-definition 3D model, isn't it?
It is. It is. That kind of detailed quantum simulation could give AI a whole new level of understanding, leading to, more accurate diagnoses.
Yeah.
And maybe even personalized treatment plans based on a person's specific genetic makeup.
That's incredible. But how would that impact industries beyond healthcare?
Well, consider material science, for instance. So, designing new materials. Yeah. With these really specific properties, like superconductivity or extreme strength. That is incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many possible combinations of elements and structures that even with really powerful computers, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, it sounds like we're kind of relying on trial and error at that point, hoping to stumble upon a breakthrough.
To some extent, yes. But quantum computers, though, could change all of that, right? They could simulate the behavior of atoms and molecules in a way that classical computers just can't, allowing us to design and test these new materials virtually before we even try to create them in the lab.
So instead of blindly experimenting, we could actually kind of predict how a material will behave in the real world. That could revolutionize everything from, building lighter and more efficient aircraft to developing next generation batteries for electric vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the kind of impact we're talking about. So quantum AI has this potential, right, to accelerate innovation and lead to these breakthroughs that would otherwise take decades, maybe even centuries to achieve with classical computing.
This all sounds amazing, but let's be realistic for a minute. We're still in the very early stages of quantum computing. What are the challenges that still need to be overcome before we see these real-world applications?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is scale, right? So while Willow is a huge leap forward, we still need quantum computers with significantly more qubits to tackle some of these, truly complex problems. And it's not just about the quantity, right? We need higher quality qubits too, with those longer coherence times. Remember we talked about that attention span earlier? So we need them to be able to maintain those quantum states for longer periods to allow for those more complex calculations.
So it's not just about the raw processing power then, it's about maintaining stability and reliability over time.
Precisely. And we also need to develop new algorithms and software to really effectively harness the power of these quantum computers. It's not as simple as just plugging in the existing algorithms.
Right.
We need these completely new approaches that are designed specifically for, the unique capabilities of these quantum systems.
So it's a hardware challenge and a software challenge too. We need the right tools and the right instructions to unlock that potential of quantum AI.
That's right. And then there's this question of accessibility, right? Right now, quantum computing is mostly confined to research labs and these tech giants like Google.
Yeah, it seems like to really see its full potential, we need to make this technology more widely available.
We do. We need to kind of democratize access to it.
Yeah.
For researchers and developers
Yeah.
and entrepreneurs around the world, this is going to let them explore all those applications and contribute to this emerging field.
So we've got the hardware challenges, the
Yes.
software hurdles, right? And this need to make quantum computing more accessible. But even with all these obstacles in place, right? The potential benefits are so significant, it feels like this race to the quantum finish line is already underway.
It is, and it's a race with incredibly high stakes, too. The countries and the companies
Yeah.
that master quantum computing first,
Yeah.
they're going to have a significant advantage in areas like, scientific research, technological innovation, even national security.
So it's not just about like pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge then, it's about like economic and geopolitical power too.
Absolutely. That's why we're seeing so much investment and
Yeah.
effort being put into this
Yeah.
all around the world, right? This field has the potential to reshape the global landscape
Yeah.
in these really profound ways.
So we've covered a lot of ground here today. We talked about, Willow's technical breakthroughs, the potential of quantum AI, all those challenges and implications of this technology. But let's refocus on Willow for just a minute. What are like the next steps for Google as they continue to develop this revolutionary chip?
Well, Google actually states in their blog post that they're trying to achieve
Mm-hmm.
what they call a practical beyond classical computation.
Meaning they want to demonstrate that Willow can solve a real-world problem that's just impossible for even, the most powerful classical computers to even handle.
Exactly. And they believe
Mhm.
that this next generation of Willow chips
Mhm.
will let them achieve that.
So it's not just about the benchmarks then. It's about really showing the world that Willow can make a difference in a way that everyone can understand and appreciate.
That's right. And they're focusing on problems with like scientific and commercial relevance.
So maybe something like designing a new catalyst for carbon capture that is just like significantly more efficient than anything we have today. Or maybe developing a new drug that can effectively target a previously untreatable disease,
Those are excellent examples. The key is that these solutions would only be possible because of the unique capabilities of, a quantum computer like Willow.
It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible,
Yeah.
right? And showing that quantum computing isn't just like a
Brilliant.
theoretical concept. It's a tool that can solve real-world problems and make a real difference in people's lives.
Precisely. And Google isn't keeping this to themselves either.
Right.
They're actively encouraging collaboration, and they're inviting researchers and engineers and developers to join them on this journey.
So it sounds like they're trying to build like a quantum ecosystem, not just a quantum computer.
That's a great way to put it. They're providing open source software, educational resources,
Yeah.
even like a new course on Coursera to help people learn about and contribute to quantum computing.
It's a far cry from like, the old model
Yeah.
of keeping like groundbreaking research locked away in a secret lab. This kind of open approach could really accelerate the pace of innovation and bring those real-world quantum applications closer to reality, right?
It also highlights the importance of education and training, right? We need to equip this next generation of like scientists and engineers and
Yeah.
developers with the skills and the knowledge to
Right.
navigate this, complex and rapidly evolving field.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a whole new technological era, and we
Yeah.
need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate and contribute.
Absolutely. That's what makes this conversation about Willow so fascinating, right? It's not
Okay.
just about a new piece of hardware. It's about, the potential
Yeah.
to unlock a whole new world of possibilities, right? And shape the future in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Welcome back to our deep dive into Google's Willow chip.
Before we went to the break, we were just talking about the possibilities of quantum AI, and it feels like we're really on the verge of something huge.
Yeah, and I think it's important to emphasize just how significant that connection is, between quantum computing and AI.
I'm ready to have my mind blown again, so. How could quantum computers supercharge AI? Can you kind of paint us a picture?
Okay, so let's imagine that we're trying to train an AI
Hmm.
to recognize different types of cancer cells. Now, currently, AIs, rely on just massive amounts of data from images and biopsies and stuff. But what if we could use quantum computers
Mm.
to simulate the behavior of those cells at a molecular level?
Right.
You take into account all those complex quantum interactions that are happening within them.
Okay, so that's like a whole new level of detail. It's like going from a simple X-ray to like a full body MRI, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That kind of detailed quantum simulation. It could give AI a level of understanding that we can barely imagine right now, leading to things like more accurate diagnoses and maybe even like personalized treatment plans that are based on a person's, unique genetic makeup.
That's pretty amazing, especially, for healthcare. But how about other industries? Do you think quantum AI could change things in other areas as well?
Well, for example, let's take material science. So, designing new materials with these very specific properties,
Hmm.
like superconductivity or extreme strength. This is incredibly complex. There are countless possible combinations of like
Hmm.
elements and structures. It's a bit like even with our most powerful computers, trying to find a specific grain of sand on a beach.
So it sounds like we're pretty much stuck then with a lot of trial and error, just hoping that we stumble upon something.
To some extent, yes. But quantum computers could completely change that. They could simulate the behavior of atoms and molecules with this like crazy level of detail. That's just impossible for classical computers to achieve. And this would allow us to like design and test new materials virtually before we even, try to make them in a lab.
That's incredible. So instead of blindly experimenting, we could actually kind of have some certainty about how that material is going to behave in the real world. Yeah.
Yeah, that could completely change how we approach everything from like, building lighter aircraft
Yeah.
to developing those next generation batteries for electric vehicles.
You're absolutely right. And that's the kind of impact that we're talking about here, right? So quantum AI has the potential to really speed up innovation and lead to breakthroughs that might otherwise be decades, maybe even centuries away. It all sounds amazing, but we need to remember that we're still in those very early days of quantum computing. So what are the biggest hurdles that we still need to overcome before we actually see these real world applications?
Oh, scale is a major challenge, right? Even though Willow is this huge step forward, we still need quantum computers with the many, many more qubits to really tackle some of those complex problems that we face. And it's not even just about having more qubits. We also need them to be higher quality, right, with longer coherence times. Remember, we talked about that attention span thing.
Yeah.
So we need qubits that can really maintain those quantum states for longer to allow for more complex calculations.
So it's not just about the raw processing power then, it's about stability and reliability over time as well.
Exactly. And then, of course, we also need to develop the new algorithms and software,
Huh?
right, that can effectively use these quantum computers. It's not as simple as just plugging in the algorithms that we're using today. We need these totally new approaches that are really specifically designed for the unique capabilities of quantum systems.
So we need both the right hardware and the right software to make this all work.
That's right. And then, of course, we can't forget about accessibility. Right now, quantum computing is really only available to, research labs and a handful of these tech giants like Google.
Yeah, and if we really want to see this technology reach its full potential, it feels like we need to make it available to a much wider range of people and institutions.
We do. We really need to democratize access, make it available to researchers, developers, entrepreneurs all over the world. This will really allow people to explore its potential and, of course, contribute to the field.
So we've got those challenges then, right? The hardware, the software, the accessibility. But even with all those hurdles in place, the potential benefits are so great. It really feels like a global race for quantum supremacy is already underway.
And it is a race with, incredibly high stakes. Whoever masters this technology first, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have a huge advantage
Yeah.
in areas like, scientific research, technological innovation, maybe even national security.
It's not just about scientific advancement then. It's about power and influence on this global scale.
Absolutely. And that's why we're seeing so much investment and effort being poured into quantum computing research all over the world, right? This is a field that has the potential to change everything.
Okay, wow. So we've talked about Willow's breakthroughs. We've talked about the possibilities of quantum AI and even those global implications. But let's kind of get back to Google and the Willow chip. What's next for them as they continue to, develop this technology?
Well, Google is very clear in their blog post about this. Their goal is to achieve what they're calling a practical beyond classical computation.
So they basically want to show the world that Willow can solve a problem that's just impossible for conventional computers to handle.
Exactly. And they believe that this next generation of Willow chips will actually allow them to do that.
It's not about the benchmarks anymore then. It's about proving that Willow can make a difference in a way that everyone can understand and see.
It is. And they're focusing specifically on problems with scientific and commercial value.
Okay, so something like designing a catalyst that makes carbon capture much more efficient than what we have now, right?
Yep.
Or maybe a new drug that could target a previously untreatable disease.
Those are great examples. The key is that these solutions would only be possible
Mm.
because of, a quantum computer like Willow.
So it's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible then,
Yeah.
and showing the world that quantum computing isn't just this theoretical concept. It's a tool that can actually improve people's lives.
And Google isn't keeping all this to themselves either. They're actively encouraging collaboration, inviting other researchers, engineers, developers
Mm.
to kind of join them in this journey.
So it sounds like they're trying to build like this whole quantum community then,
Yeah.
not just a better quantum computer.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. They're providing like open source software, educational resources, even a new course, I think, on Coursera to help people learn about and contribute to the field.
Yeah, that's a far cry from that old model of keeping that cutting edge research, locked away in a secret lab. This open approach could really speed things up.
Yeah.
And bring those real world applications much closer.
Yeah, and it also really highlights the importance of, education and training. We really need to give this next generation of scientists and engineers and developers the skills, right, to work in this, complex and rapidly evolving field.
It really does feel like we're on the verge of a whole new technological revolution, and we need to make sure that everyone has the chance to participate.
I agree. That's what makes this whole conversation about Willow so interesting, right? It's not just about this one piece of technology. It's a door to, like, a whole world of possibilities that we can only begin to glimpse right now.
We've explored the potential of Willow and quantum computing. We've talked about quantum AI, the challenges, those global implications of this technology. But one question that just keeps coming back to me is, if quantum computing can already do things that we thought were impossible, what other breakthroughs might be just around the corner? What problems that seem insurmountable to us today could we solve with the power of quantum computing? And that's where we're going to pick up in the final part of our deep dive into Google's Willow chip. So stay tuned because things are about to get really interesting.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring, like, the world of quantum computing and Google's Willow chip.
It's been fascinating, and more than a little mind-boggling.
It really has.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a field that sparks the imagination. And that's what I'd like to kind of focus on in this final segment. What if the most revolutionary uses for quantum computing are the ones that we haven't even thought of yet?
Now you're talking, that's getting into the speculation, which I have to admit I love so seriously. What kind of unimaginable breakthroughs are we even talking about here?
Just think back a few decades, right? I mean, the internet as we know it today was just this totally foreign concept to most people, even before that, The idea of having a computer in your home seemed like something straight out of science fiction.
So are you suggesting that quantum computing could be that next huge technological leap then? The one that, fundamentally changes how we live and work and interact with the world around us?
I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. What's so exciting is that, we're only just beginning to kind of understand what these quantum computers can do. So, as these systems keep evolving, who knows what problems they'll be able to solve, right?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's put on our futurist hats. What are some areas where quantum computing could lead to? Those breakthroughs that we can't even think of right now.
One area that comes to mind is cryptography. Most of our digital security today relies on these complex math problems, right, that are difficult for classical computers to solve. But a powerful enough quantum computer could break those codes super easily. And that has huge implications for everything from online banking to national security.
So in a world with these powerful quantum computers, we might have to just rethink how we secure everything then, all our data and communication.
Exactly. But there's also this flip side to it. Quantum computing could also lead to these totally new encryption methods that are basically unbreakable. It could make our digital world more secure than it is today.
Interesting. So it's ethos, a threat and an opportunity then in the field of cybersecurity. What about other areas where we might see, these unexpected quantum leaps?
Well, how about space exploration? Imagine using quantum computers to design these, totally new propulsion systems, right? Systems that could, allow us to reach other star systems in way less time than it would take with our current technology.
Interstellar travel. Okay, that's something I would love to see in my lifetime. It sounds like, straight out of Star Trek.
And that may sound far-fetched, but we are talking about tapping into, those fundamental laws of the universe here. Quantum computers could give us the ability to, like,
Yeah.
manipulate gravity and energy and matter
Yeah.
in ways we can't even begin to imagine right now.
Okay, I am officially on board with this quantum future, but let's bring things back down to earth for just a minute. What are some of those like near-term possibilities
Yeah.
that you find like particularly exciting?
I'm interested in this whole idea of, like, personalized medicine.
Mm.
So imagine using quantum computers to create, like, highly accurate models
Mm.
of how genes and proteins and environmental factors, all interact with each other. And then we could use those models to, like, design these truly personalized treatments for diseases like,
Right.
cancer or Alzheimer's or heart disease.
So instead of like, that one-size-fits-all approach to medicine, we could
Yeah.
be tailoring those treatments to each person's like unique biology.
Exactly. And that would just completely revolutionize healthcare. Think
Wow.
about more effective treatments with fewer side effects,
Right.
ultimately leading to, longer and healthier lives.
So it's clear whether we're talking about like exploring the cosmos or, transforming healthcare, redefining cybersecurity, the potential here is basically limitless.
Yeah, and that's the message I hope you take away from our deep dive into, Google's Willow chip.
Yeah.
It's not just about a new technology, right? It's about that incredible sense of wonder and possibility that it inspires.
It really is. It reminds us, that we are living in this time of unprecedented scientific and technological advancement. And the future really does hold, these possibilities that are almost beyond like our comprehension.
The quantum revolution has just begun, really.
Yeah.
And it promises to be this, like, incredible journey.
Well, thank you so much for joining us as we explored this fascinating world of quantum computing. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing their insights and knowledge. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a topic that's shaping our world. Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep learning.